How's it going, collective? I hope y'all have enjoyed your day. It's June 7th, 2024. 8:40 as I'm recording this. But I wanted to extend on what I was talking about yesterday, and sort of this theme of nepotism, and how to know when you're in that type of family dynamic, where you're born into it. So I'm gonna just out myself on this one. There was a point when my twin flame, before I knew what was going on, but and I didn't know what she was going through at the time, or what her relationship deal was, but I remember the energy feeling kind of just up in the air, and obviously later on, we both found out why, because we were fated and destined to be together, but it was, we didn't, at least I didn't know a lot of that then, but I don't think she quite expected the things to line up the way they did, but, I pushed her away because, there's just some energy there that wasn't quite setting with me right, and, it was like right person at the wrong time, and, now obviously it's right person, right time energy, but we had to do that work, but, I remember sending her messages, and I was like, we're gonna find you your future man, your future person, or whatever, and, I had pitched, an area, where we would, find this person, for her, and it was at the produce aisle, and it was kind of just like a joke, because I sent something else out, and it came from some comedian, and I don't remember who, but it was, I just wanted to be helpful, and I was genuine in my efforts, and but growing up, when I was saying about how everyone just kind of already knows, that you're gay, homosexual, whatever, before you usually know for some reason. But I was like, I knew, and it's like usually I think a lot of us end up knowing, but and then we kind of just forget, and then we just go about our journey, and I find it interesting that a lot of LGBTQ plus individuals that I've, or at least most of the females that I known, I don't really talk to a lot of them anymore, but or anyone really, but they would a lot of them were very spiritual individuals. I didn't see much of it from the guys, but a lot of the women were, or are still, and there were some where they just kind of had to live out that live out the the energy of being with the same sex partner, and then some of them oddly would come to me, and some of them would, make the decision, the choice, or the whatever, or realize they kind of were just done, and it was like something that passed. And literally, for some people, it was just really just like a phase. There's an energy of a phase of something having to do with their own soul's journey that they just were done, and they went on. And but they'd come to me, and um, oddly, there was always some kind of a religion factor. There's only like a couple of them that really like a religion factor. Um, and then the other ones were just, uh, straight women I would just get with, and they'd, you know, um, I was just their placeholder, and this is going to be a part of what I'm going to say here in a bit, but, then they would, obviously break the ever living crap out of my heart, and then, they'd leave, and they'd go be with, their future spouse, and usually, it was, a man, and, it was like I was always happy for them, because I was like, ultimately, I want you to be happy, like I don't, it was just, because I invest a lot of my time and energy, into the relationships I have, and then when I learned I was just a placeholder for a lot of people, and their, you know, lack to do any of the work, is when I, obviously stopped really caring about a lot of, trying to really connect with, anyone other than my twin flame, and so, just to keep that energy, clear and everything, and, but, it really got into, there was a trend I noticed, growing up, where I grew up at, there were some weird things that would happen, where people would go missing, um, but, but I remember that my parents were very careful about, who, came around us, and, who we were friends with. And so that taught me, and it was because of the things going on in the community, and the weird disappearances of, people, and, you just couldn't be, you had to be a little more careful there, because it was just something that would happen, and it was just really weird, and, but, especially my mother would really try to protect us, from that, but, she ultimately would just trust us that we did what we needed to do whenever, our parents weren't looking, and so, but what, that was kind of like also a thing with other individuals, but, I remember a lot of kids, a lot of my peers thinking, that was really weird, and, they'd get a little mad that I couldn't be friends with them, and I would tell them, like, well, my parents said I can't hang out with you, like, and I didn't never have an issue, I didn't have an issue telling them that, and I don't know if most kids do, but it was like, I just wanted to make it clear, like, my parents just said I just I can't hang out with you, and they'd be like, why? And, sometimes I tell them, because you're just a mean kid, and I can't hang around you, um, and there are some other things, but it's just, I was thinking about it today, and it was just really funny, but, but the whole situation taught me that, my, in that time, in both my parents' life and their pattern, even though they were entrepreneurs, they taught us how to do prospecting and things like that, but it just wasn't, um, they went at it a little harder than, than I did when I became, more embracing my entrepreneurial spirit. But a lot of it was because of just growing up. I instantly already felt and sensed a lot of the things and the energies, I guess. And like as an adult, I just didn't want it to be it's who you know, because just seeing some of that later on in my teenage years, it was just it was also something that just didn't ever work out for me, because it was like the people that I knew, they weren't always with the best energy. They didn't have the best character. But they knew people who knew people who knew people, but I just couldn't ever get into that, because it was just, it's like I literally have to have those really deep connections with individuals in order for me to want to really do business, and, I've had people and spirits try to come in and, make that more than it needed to be, but, they just were just trying too hard. And, but when I knew who I wanted to go into business with, and whenever I just knew, but even that took a lot of work. But some of it was my own family, but they obviously didn't treat me the way they were supposed. They just didn't have treat me with dignity and respect. And so I was not about being in the family business. And they would say family business, and at first I was like, yeah, this is cool, but ultimately there was a part of my subconscious that taught me that growing up and seeing we couldn't just be friends with anyone. But it was kind of shocking to find out, I wasn't meant to even go into business, with my own bloodline, or more, what do they call that, immediate bloodline. And so they, because I wasn't going to put up with being disrespected, and not having my values and my beliefs being valued, or having respect paid to my values and beliefs, not me pushing them on to them, because I didn't do that. It was just the energy, and then they just didn't like my narrative, and I was like, I can't be around people that are gonna try to keep me pushed down from being who I am. But back to what I was saying about the it's okay to outgrow your family and your friends and all that. It happens. But I just remember, I'm grateful that my subconscious had that program very early. You just can't be friends with anyone, even though my parents were out there really trying to network, and I believe that that's why it was a good projection, because it was like an opposite of what they were doing, and it was almost like they were speaking truth to something, and they wanted us to be obviously a better version at some point. But it just, I found it kind of interesting how that played out, because I'm like, they were networking hard, and but for us and our friendships, when we were younger, we weren't allowed to just hang out with anybody. So it was some weird balance there, but I caught on to it because I paid attention. But it sounded interesting. But then later, my parents, they get divorced, and then that's where another phase comes in, because when you're a child and you're with parents that they get divorced, it's like, and then they get remarried. Like you marry you're married with them. I mean, at least that's how I felt, and again, I was some little spiritual child placeholder for, certain energies, and then I became like the punching bag, and then I was like, I can't do that anymore. Like, I'm just like, I'm tired of being that one that's like, you're always responsible, blah, 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 and then I'm like, but the other, step sibling was a lot older than me, and, just very irresponsible, and, but I was always getting the brunt of everything, and I was like, that's really ridiculous, and I didn't really, identify as a black sheep. My mother did, but I didn't, and, I tell you, like, I said it one time, but it was just because I was referencing, trying to explain something, but I was like, I'm a lot more than that, because I don't want to, I'm not here to do all that, but it ended up being true in another sense, but, I say it as, I'm one of the chosen, and that's what it is, because I just think the word black sheep is just, still has that follower energy. I don't like it, but, it's like you look different and you're different, but you're still in the herd. Like, just, I don't like that. Being the chosen, it's like you're out, you're way out of, what you were born into, and what, all the things, like, but yeah, but then whenever my parents, my mother didn't ever remarry, but, my birth father definitely did, and it was just odd because, the words coming out of my stepmother's mouth was, everyone was already saying, like, you're gay, blah, 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 and, I was like, okay, whatever, but, I just remember them really trying to, the energy changed where they were really trying to, push on me, being in a relationship with somebody, and I remember that happening with a couple of my friends, who are not, gay or homosexual or anything like that. They were just, but it was just seeing that, I was like, this is completely opposite from what I knew as a kid, where I grew up knowing that you have to be careful in who you have, in your circle and your friends, and it's always stuck with me. But I've gone through certain shifts and kind of the energies and played it out and whatever. But I just remember my stepmom just really just, and even my siblings, mainly my step siblings, but like, and my birth father, just saying, why don't you have a relationship? Like, why aren't you with somebody? And they really wanted me just to fill a void, and I'm like, why are they, why would they want me to do that? Like, I would expect that, they're adults and they've obviously seen and lived life, like they should know better, to say that to me, like, but obviously they were unhappy with their own relationship, and they were trying to live vicariously through me and have something interesting, and I just, I didn't want to entertain their, their demons, but, I was like, I just didn't want to get with anybody, because I've always just been like that, even though I've been around others that do, and I've known that I've picked up that energy, but it wasn't like, it just couldn't be anybody, or anyone, and, it's just always been something I'm deeper, at a very soul, cosmic level for me, and, because I've always known that I'm worthy to have better, but, you know, I always had to live and learn some things, and just to make sure a lot how I went through my contingencies, you know, before I even came out of the closet. You know, I had to make sure, and I did make sure. And, you know, even when I was out there, you know, in a heterosexual relationship, you know, I just couldn't be with just some random individual, and I've always felt like that. And I was like that as a kid as well, and, you know, there's the whole meet the parents thing and all the things, but I just thought that was interesting because, you know, it's like it has that, you know, those are just some of those things when it, in some way, uh, there's a positive and a negative, you know, ion of some sorts with, you know, the atoms and how energy plays out. And a lot of people don't relate themselves to that, but you know, things are things and things and things and things. And so um, when it came to that for myself, I found it interesting how it switched. And um, I was like, you know, I just don't. It wasn't until I became an adult where I really just, well, I was like, screw that. I'm gonna be friends with whoever I want and all these things. But I got to experience, you know, both ends of that, where it was like, don't just pick anyone, which was done, you know, in my sponge phase, you know, as a child. Um, and then as a teenager, you know, it switched. And, you know, everyone, you know, and I think a lot of it was just because they just didn't want me to be gay, or they wanted to try to love me or accept me for something. And so there were times where I would find one of my guy friends, and I had a lot of guy friends, and you know, I'd be like, hey, I need you to do me a solid. And I'd just be like, hey, you know, I need you to tell, I need you to come over, pretend we're going on a date, and, you know, tell my parents, you know, that you're my boyfriend or something like that. And, well, oh my gosh, I did not like doing that, but, I mean, that's just how ridiculous it got with them. Is it's just they really were trying to push me to fill some void, and it was like out of their own satisfaction. And I'm like, you know, it's kind of like how, um, you know, what a form of, you know, like if you're in either one of those, you want to make sure you look for the counter of the energy, because it's still there, you know. And so um, one of my stepmoms even said, she's like, well, I don't care who, just go find somebody. And I'm like, what in the frick? Who says that? And then a lot of it went back to, you know, how the conversation I had with those women in the cafe I went to just the other day, where they were really just, they're so concerned about their kids not having friends. And like, just be in love with their process, you know. Like, and when you see the beauty in their process, and you know that they'll get where they need to go, you know, and it's their journey, you know, they'll learn how to do that, you know, energetically. They'll catch it because they're children, and they're still, you know, their sensors are really heightened. I mean, more individuals are being born with those souls that are more sensitive. And you know, they'd call them snowflakes. And I was like, well, I mean, I kind of fall in that category myself. I mean, if you want to get crazy like that, but you know, I own my energy, and it's not like that I'm a snowflake. It's just um, you know, I'm very like, this is an example of what it looks like, owning your feelings and your emotions and being okay with it, because it's okay to be emotional and, feel, but don't get crazy irrational. I mean, you're still in control of your feelings and your emotions. Like, they happen, but it's good to just let them out. You don't want to keep them bottled up, that's for sure. But I was just always thought that was interesting how I somehow was just some space holder to fill a void, and then because of whatever unhappiness my parents or step parents or step siblings, or siblings had at the time, it's like I was just holding space for some void, and then eventually it just became like the punching bag in a way, and it just got really ridiculous, and I was like, um, I don't do well with that. Like, I deserve more in life, and that's when I cut everyone off too. It's just, and I mentioned it to him a couple times, and they just thought that they try to turn other things on me and whatever, and I was like, you don't get to do that, and so I just cut them off because like there's you don't belong in my life. And so then but I just found it very sad that they're talking about family business, and um, it was already hard enough growing up feeling like I didn't belong, just in the world, not in a bad way, but I just felt like I just didn't belong at all. And so when it came to my experience, in with my twin flame, there's like all those memories are being brought back up, but um, I believe a lot of reasons why I pushed my twin away, even though she was sending out those signals and those signs and stuff, it was in the very, very beginning, but it was like mainly because I wanted a friendship. But I think she was really trying to tell me what I know now, and that when our chaser illusion dynamic thing happens. But it was just it's like she was trying to tell me we're meant to be together, but it was just the energy of it in the way she went about it. I didn't like it, um, and I'm a very loyal individual, and so I don't it just didn't feel right. And then later on, she realized, then I really realized, like there were just a lot of past life energies that needed to be worked out, and we got through all that. But it was just I just found it interesting that I was able to remember that in the moment, because like I just didn't want to pick anyone. And if anyone was ever to see, not like, it's not like about the surface level really, but it's I feel like it's not even a thing anymore. But just the way that it's just like a very unexpected coupling, but to anyone on the surface, but to us, like it makes a lot of sense when it comes to our values and our beliefs, and our mission, and our our work that we do for God, and having big Jesus hearts, and just being really loving and caring and kind, and that's what we really desire to be. um, and but it was like at the end of when the beginning, it was like I just didn't, I think there was a point where I felt like because I was trying to help her fill a void, because I just, I don't make many assumptions, but the one freaking time that I did, I didn't know how much deeper that meaning had to what I was trying to do for her, and um, until later, and then I was like, oh gosh, um, I felt like a little bit of an a-hole at the time, but I got over that. She's like, I know she knows now, and like, there's obviously so much more that goes into it, but I was just trying to be genuine and kind, and just look after her heart, and just I wanted her to be happy overall, and you know it was like I was giving her all of the things that people weren't giving me, um, which for the most of the time, most people they'll display a lot of the things that people um, throw at them, and they'll become jaded and just unhappy, and deal with they have all their things, and it's those kinds of individuals would throw me off, because I was like, well, why would you be that way? Like, if someone didn't give you that, you'd always want to just give someone all the things that you didn't get to have. And that's what the beauty of, especially with the twin flame relationship is, and connection is just, um, you know, she knew things about my past, and she knew, um, that the way people treated me, and I know there was a lot of it she was expecting, um, in some ways, for me to be that way towards her, and there was like one time where I got a little frustrated in the very, very beginning, and I had this urge to just, you know, out her and tell on her for something really freaking petty. It was so stupid. But it didn't get very far, because it was like, why would I want to do that? Because I obviously don't care. And, it was like, because it was like, that's just not me. That's not how I do things. Um, and I was, I was really going, through it then, because it was like, at the time, I was married at the time, and it was like, the army was trying to push me away and push me to, be focused on the family I had at the time, and my ex was heavily into nepotism, and in a very unhealthy. I mean, I don't think any of it's healthy, but it was just um, a very extreme level, and but because the military was um, always felt like my home, and I am, because I'm very patriotic, and I, regardless of what goes on, like, I know that I have a lot in me to help change, things um, in this country and beyond. But and I already have done a lot of that, just using my energy, not really having to do much. Um, but my twin helped me realize that too, and my high level of myself that could see the board better than I could. Um, but yeah, it was just very strange, that I just remember there was moments where my twin was just like very flabbergasted in a way, um, because sometimes I would hear, like, why do you still freaking love me, and why, and I would just send, back the thought energy of like, because like I'm supposed to, and I'm not going to give up on you regardless what happens. And even in the spirit, there was moments where there would be, even though my twin's a shape shifter as well, but it was just, there's also others that were like walk-in spirits that were trying to fulfill a void. And even in the spirit, there are void fillers, and I didn't like that either, and I caught on to them, and I was like, no, like they don't get to have that space, like they don't get to have it. And so that was something else I had to you know fight through, but I got past it, because I literally went through it. I didn't go around it. I went through the whole experience with it, and I was like, why does this keep freaking happening? Like, I already done did it. Like, it's not like I have to keep being reminded of what I don't want in my life. Like, and that's been like the most, it's been like one of the harder things to deal with, because there was a lot of things in like that spirit, laid to rest yesterday, and you know, um, amen to that. It was like, you know, um, I was just like really waiting, for my twin to catch up, because I was like, a lot of times I just don't understand why it's taken so long sometimes. And it wasn't like I was trying to be pushy and not be in love with, her process, but it was just, a lot of it had to do with like the nepotism energy that was around her, and people that would not let let her feel authentic, and be vulnerable and all these things. And like I said, she had to be like the community town unicorn in a lot of ways, and I was like, and I totally get that, but it was like I haven't ever wanted to voluntarily just hold space. Not like I really got to volunteer for it, but regardless, had the situation gone a different way and it was a lot more smooth, I mean, I still know I would have, even if she would end up being just a high level soulmate, and I still would have, because there's just still that depth there, with my twin flame. And like I said before, I even knew we were twin flames, I knew that there was depth well over a decade ago, when I first physically, knowingly myself came into contact with her. And so it's like there's just always been this past life resonance, that I haven't ever had with anyone else. But so whenever I was would go through things as a child and as a teenager, and my parents, my step parents, trying to influence me to um, just be with whomever, because my birth father was just that was my birth father. He just wanted to go get with whoever. But whenever I lived with my birth mother for a while, she never got remarried, and at least I don't talk to her anymore. But she didn't have like this crazy slew of partners, and so when I lived with her, I was there at a the right time, because I came out of being around a step parent that wanted me to just go be with whoever, and it was just, I just never felt like that was the right way to go. And so I realized that my birth mother was the one that was holding the energy of, just that protective energy, and she was very protective, but um, and she knew how to hold her ground on a lot of things, and so I didn't ever really try to make that hard for her, but it's just, there's just so many layers there when it comes to when it comes to looking at any relationship. You just and I will say that there was a lot of just going to school. There's a really big school I went to, and it just, I wasn't able to make a lot of friends, and I don't ever remember being really upset about that. I just remember feeling like I was at a place, and it was just ridiculous that I even had to exist there. And so I filled that space with working all the time, very young. I would work 40 plus hours. I don't think it was legal, but I did. Um, and so, it was like something I learned because of that situation. And then when I left, um, and I went from feeling like this very, just all this codependent energy around me with my birth father and my stepmother, that um, transitioning into independent, um, hold your own, energy with my birth mother. It it was really what I needed at the time. But it's like, those are the kinds of people you want to be around. But then over time, then my birth mother became a very codependent individual, and then I I couldn't be around it, and because she wasn't able to balance that energy out um, in a really good way, and a lot of it had to do with just some things with the siblings and whatever, and that's their issue, not mine. But I just remember, uh, they would, her and whatever sibling was trying to create they had tension. I just remember her trying to get me to be on her side about it, and there was the things that were thrown, towards me, where they said, well, families, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, but you're saying this to me, but look at y'all over there fighting. Like, you can't throw that at me like that. Like, when it won't work, because I haven't ever been the type to, because I want everyone to work it out. So I'm going to obviously advise and put out what I want to put out, to help the situation. But ultimately, you got to make the choice. But I just found it so. That's when I also realized that my birth family, it was time for me just to get away from all of them. Um, when things like that started happening, because I was like, now it's getting ridiculous, because it's like it's going backwards. The energy where we grew up being way different from a lot of families of our peers, and then it started transitioning. After we all became adults and all that, then it started going the other way, and it was like, now everyone's mad, and the parents are fighting with the adult children, and then there's these beefs, and there's these cliques, and then there's the sneaky, all those things, the characters of the situation. And I'm like, I'm not about that life. It's like I'm more of the let's just move forward and grow, and let's just like just self develop and let's grow and let's do that. And I was like, let's not get stuck in that. And it just eventually it's like whatever I said it was just going on one ear and out the other. And I'm like, I don't even hold a spot for being that mediator anymore because it's just got that ridiculous. And that's when I was like, yeah, it's just time to leave, you know. And it wasn't like a hard decision for me because it's like when I get those nudges, like I'm like, yep, that's been kind of a thing, but that was like the last kind of thing, and I don't say it, you know. I just move in silence. I'll just go. Um, but I just thought it was so, just like all those things when you think about it. I just thought it was really interesting that when it comes to nepotism at all, when it came to fighting, because with my military family, you know, even though towards the end of that situation there were some fights, and there were some a long time ago, and then I got put in some other unit, and then there was like just more fighting, and it was like it just wouldn't stop. I'm like, I just feel like all my families are fighting, and I can't handle that because it's not what I want to see. Fighting is not something that I want to see in my reality, nor will I tolerate that in my reality. And, um, you know, it was just the fact that anyone ever would think that I would even be the type to, um, you know, want to fight. It was like just because I used to, you know, do, you know, Muay Thai fighting and things like that, and like just like boxing, and I would do active things like that in the gyms. Like just because I did those things, that was a balance and a healthy way to go through. And even that situation had some unhealthy ego issues, and so it's like I just don't ever. It just does. Once I start seeing a very like an unharmonious situation, and people aren't treating each other with dignity and respect, I mean, I just leave. And you know, obviously, like I know that there are times where it's like some people just need to work it out a little bit. It's kind of like when you're kids and parents used to say, "Oh, they just need to fight it out," and da da da. And like, yeah, there is a sense to that where like the energy has to work itself out, but you have to really hold the space for those thoughts of, yeah, it's just got to work out that way. And usually, um, you know, it does, but there's somewhere it keeps on, and there's a lot of triggers with certain individuals, and then that's when I'm like, yeah, I can't be around a lot of that. Like, I just can't. And so after a while, it got to the point where I was just like, yeah, this reality just doesn't make sense to me. And you know, I had my choices, and I changed, you know, my environment. And you know, more recently something tried to pop back up, and um, you know, I was like, I'm not that individual. You know, there's nothing there. Um, it was just a reminder to let me know how much um, energy my own family was trying to take from me. Um, and that's, you know, just it's kind of weird for me to say that because of just the way that I've always seen my family very different from others. And it's just that they, you know, everything kind of comes in the circle, and there's a growing season, a learning season, and all that. Um, but when you become the space holder and the one filling the voids for everybody, you know, to go through that growing season, like it's like, you know, I tried to give advice and teach, and um, you know, and it was ignored. And um, you know, you don't get that chance, um, because I know their patterns, and I'm just like, there's not a chance for them. And and it's okay, because I outgrew that. I was outgrowing that a long time ago. I just kept staying there for whatever reason, but I wasn't ever really super close with them all in the first place. And the fact that we got close and then we weren't close was just really weird, but I had to experience it, and I did. I went through it. I didn't try to avoid it, but like I said recently, um, one individual popped up, and um, I was given back my energy, and then I had to go through the process of feeling um, and being reminded of how much they were trying to take from me. I was emotional for a decent part of the day, and um, it was just, it was ridiculous. And I was like, well, didn't really need the reminder, but, thanks, God and the universe for the reminder of, why, um, and a lot of the whys, uh, why I left, my birth family, and, why I'm, still dedicated, and, invest my time and energy already at a distance for now to, my new family, and um, because of the work they're putting in. And um, even at a distance, my family my birth family was trying to, um, like the flesh one, not the soul tribe one, but the flesh one was, they were really trying to, even at a distance, I would feel them, even on the phone, they would try to just take my energy, and I'm like, it didn't matter if it was a text message or whatever, I would feel it. And I was like, and it was odd to me, because I wasn't thinking that, because I'm like, at the time I was like, I just needed to talk to somebody, but um, you know and it's very rare that I'd feel that, but when I did, it was like when I get presented the opportunity with that individual, it just became a reminder of why I just didn't want to, why I needed to be away from them. And it was just kind of sad, but at the same time, I needed to experience it, and be reminded, like, this is why, nepotism is just not a good energy anymore, and why, we're, as we go into, more space exploration and whatever, but I know that I'm already I'm teaching contingencies of, just the energies of, what we can't take with us. And, space is a different situation. And, it's, I didn't ever think I'd be the one to be out here talking about it, but I am. Because obviously I'm, one of the chosen, and all this just has seemed so familiar to me. And what I remember is it's always been about, be a leader, an individual leader, and hold your own, and you'll attract the right people that also want the same, but can also give you, um, you know, uh, the right kind of love, and speak your language, and um, be able to be in love with your process, and you do the same for them. Like, you'll attract your tribe with your vibe. So that's what I've done. But it was really annoying that I had to have the reminder, but it wasn't just so much a reminder, it was me getting back all the energy that they took from me, and then me having to resort through it again, because it was just, what they were trying to do with it was very ugly, and very sad, and it hurt. It really hurt. And I was like, this is what they were doing with the love that I gave them. And the unconditional love that I gave them, all the forgiveness I've given them. So when I got it back, it was like it was trying to read through timelines, and they're trying to there was a plan that they had of me trying to work through a situation for one of my siblings that just can't seem to get his crap together with some of his legal things. And I was like, I'm not, if he doesn't want to do the work, that's on him, it's not on me. And you know, it was just that's not my energy, and I don't belong in that space. And but they were really hoping that I would be able to work through that. And I remember you know, my one of my other siblings and my birth father trying to say, well, this sibling needs some help. And you know, at the end of the day, you know, I kept telling them, I was like, this, it's their soul's mission, it's their thing, whatever they got to do, it's their thing, it's not my thing. But the fact that they wanted me to go through that kind of hell to, you know, I was like, we don't hardly talk. We don't, there's a lot of things that are hard nosed with that whole situation, but, I mean, it was, some really demonic shit, that, you know, they wanted me to endure, and that what they were doing with my energy. And oh my gosh, I was so emotional about it. And it wasn't like a trigger thing, it was more just like a, you know, because I try to invite it with open arms. But you know, that's literally what passed it. It was you know, a hug and an exchange there. And you know, I just been wanting some sense of, you know, physical touch, which wasn't something I was against. It was just, there's, you know, I was very careful with that. And so when that exchange happened and I got back my energy signature and all of it from them, I had to unscrew all the things that they were trying to do with it, and it just brought to light and a lot of reminders of why I just don't belong or need to ever be around them ever again. And you know, I send them healing and unconditional love and forgiveness, you know, and that they all learn, you know, what they need to learn. But I'm not going to be there to do that for them. They have to do it themselves. And you know, it's just, that's just not why God put me here. God didn't put me here to keep staying stuck in a pattern that doesn't make sense to me, you know. And it's hard enough already being on this planet, and things that don't make sense to me. So when the twin flame journey came, I really knew, like, yeah, we have each other's backs no matter what. And you know, even when it didn't make sense, and it's that unworldly trust. And I couldn't ever have that with my earth family, with my birth family, really. Not my earth family, my birth family. I just couldn't. There was just, I don't know if you want to say snakes in the grass, whatever you want to say, but there's just too much there. And for them it was confusing, and that's when I realized, like, they're really trying to take on that demon of nepotism, and I'm not going to be here for that, because it's just, it's not a good energy to be in. And I'm, you know, I'm supposed to be leading and, you know, helping you know, the collective ascend in a lot of different ways, and they don't understand me or even understand me, you know. So and the weird thing is that you know, when people really aren't meant to be around you whenever they can't even comprehend what you're saying, because I was very upfront with a lot of them, and um, they pushed me away a lot too, and but when they would want me back for whatever, and there was a point in time where I realized that one of my siblings, I stayed with that sibling for a little bit, and got to the point where I was just I was trying to look at it more of like we're finally getting to spend time together. We hadn't got to spend time together, but then it started transitioning into a, now I'm just holding space because they're going through relationship issues, and then it got kind of weird, and I was like, no. And when I started thinking that, I didn't say anything yet, but I was about to, and spirit guides or whatever, beat me to the punch, and um, that individual started pushing me away more, and then started saying things like I was jealous of something, and blah blah blah, and I'm like, absolutely not jealous of anything that you just said. That didn't make any sense to me, and I'm like, we're not even in the same frequency right now, and within a few days I was already gone, but it was still just weird because like, what in the flip's going on here? But anyways, I just wanted to come on and kind of just talk more about the dynamics and the shifts, and like just kind of how you can kind of tell um, throughout life and patterns, so you could kind of know what pattern spot you're in right now. But ultimately, if someone's trying to use you as a placeholder, or space holder, but mainly a placeholder, you just need to go tell them they need to go buy their own dining set, because you ain't gonna be the centerpiece on their table. That's just something it's not something that's gonna work, and I don't know if this generation is gonna see or at least, I mean, I'll probably still be alive, when we start getting more into this flying cars and things, look more like to that movie Back to the Future or whatever, but because it's coming pretty quick. But the sometimes I think we're all just gonna go to sleep one night and wake up, and the world will just look completely different, and in a good way. We'll be like, what? We were in hell and now we're in heaven. Like, that's literally how I feel like it'll go out, and play out, and we'll just wake up where we really want to be at. And that's why I'm really big on the temple building and all that, but yeah, I just wanted to put that out there for y'all, and so you can kind of figure out where you're at in your place, and if anyone's out there struggling with whether or not you need to leave, your old family nucleus, just know that throughout life your flesh gets cuts and blood leaves the body. So if you got to look at it that way too, just know, like, yeah, you might just be, when there's a cut, exit the wound and just leave the body of the old family nucleus. I mean, just, you know what I'm saying? Maybe some sciencey nerd like myself will get that, but I'm trying to make it make sense. But I know that I have, and I have faith that it'll get to who it needs to get to. But when it comes to nepotism and filling voids, and just, you're worth so much more than what anyone can ever tell you. Even myself, and I tell people they're worth a lot. Everyone has a purpose, everyone has a soul, and I've put put a lot of work and energy and time into making sure that that can happen for a lot of individuals, especially women, because they, were able to birth businesses and babies. And so, yeah. With that said, I hope y'all have a amazing evening, and good night.